For game number 1 for Span's going to be the Rakan. Nothing too shocking there. And that Vladimir, Genji was watching the last Griffin game.
Can't ban all the flex picks, but they're not going to allow Viper to pull out the Vladimir in bot lane. That's a coverage ban already for Ruler. And how much do you have to invest to get the matchup you want with Ruler on an AD carry is an evolving question. For me, my question is, if Genji win, and this does feel a bit like a trap game, this is a great preparation team. If you remember last year's Rift Rivals, Samsung got a lot of criticism for not showing anything and not playing well at Rift Rivals. Came out first game in the LCK and debuted Sejuani Braum. That became a huge duo in Champions Summer 2017 last year. Have they been preparing, cooking up something new? They've had a lot of time to prepare for Griffin.
Well, rolling back to the bans, Talia and Morgana, taken away here by Griffin. The Aatrox, of course, banned away by Genji. Final ban, where do they want to focus? Got 2 supports, 1 mid off the board here from the side of Griffin.
Nocturne still available. You'd have to imagine that's going to be heavy considered, but it's not. And they leave open Nocturne, and a gasp actually comes out of both the Korean casters and the fans in the crowd. Griffin were Nocturne Shen. That's how they debuted this season. Will Genji contest the Shen, or are they willing to leave it up? There's been murmurs around the Korean scene. The team's getting more and more confident about playing against Nocturne in scrims. But on the stage, it has not been worth the trade-off. So the trade-off is pretty severe, because already there's going to be a flex pick Swain, and Cuvée has been spamming Swain in solo queue to make it a 3-way flex.
Well, seems like it's just going to be the Tahm Kench here for Core JJ, going back to basics for him. Not going to be seeing the Shen taken away by Genji. Griffin likely to just go ahead and snatch that up, unless they have a different game plan. Maybe we'll see that in this round, and yep, there's going to be the hover already.
Oh, there's no other game plan than Nocturne Shen. No team has been able to put these 2 champions together since about week 1 of the LCK, Achilles, and there's been a lot of games since then. So I think that will certainly be picked up here, but Genji know this. Genji will have no surprise at the first 2 picks by Griffin. Try to understand that Genji strategy. Again, remember, Cuvée playing a lot of top lane on the Swain. How do we round out the first round of the draft here? Because support has been taken, jungle has been taken, not a lot of ambiguity about the first 2 picks. Maybe one of the first flex towards Viper might be considered in this first round. Waiting a long time here, Griffin.
They're running down the clock,
and look at this.
Gonna be the Ezreal,
they take away Ezreal Tahm Kench from Genji. When we saw a first round Tahm Kench, it seemed very likely that we would be seeing the Ezreal Tahm Kench again. That's the sort of duo that Genji have been prizing for a long time.
Oh, okay. We get the Rengar coming through for Haru. Classic pick for this guy. Is making this pick look so very good back in his debut. Now we get back to it yet again.
And I think Griffin blinked first, Kilios. And what I'm talking about is meta chicken, because we just had the awesome dude carry versus the AD carry as the hype matchup here. Ruler, who's only played AD carries, and Viper, who's erred away from them outside of funnels. And Ezreal is almost certainly going to be the AD carry. It means Viper will make his debut on just a standard laning AD carry in many ways. He's played Lucian, he's played one other, Kai'Sa, I believe, but has not been erring this way. So Genji already, they've given up a lot, but in the service of giving that up, I don't think they're going to be surprised at all out of 2 of the 3 picks from the side of Griffin.
Well, Yasuo banned away here from the mid lane. Sejuani taken out, so not going to have that one. So maybe thinking that the Nocturne was going to go somewhere else, or just didn't want the Sedge in the mix. Not sure. But double AD carry ban coming in from the side of Griffin, the Varus, and the Xayah taken away from Ruler.
Mid lane Smite Nocturne would make sense with the current meta of contesting Raptors, but I think that's so new to the pro scene. It doesn't seem like it's going to join the Aatrox and other champions just yet, but we could be surprised. Not the biggest surprise about Ashe, but Nocturne certainly does eat her for breakfast if he gets far enough ahead. The utility AD carry versus Nocturne can be risky. All right, Griffin, reveal yourself, as SpoTV would say. We're looking for solo laners here, unless the Nocturne is going to be making Vedius a very happy man.
Well, Galio, looking like that's just going to be the mid lane pick. Shen, will it be for the support role, or will it be top for sword?
Almost certainly support. So we think we're looking for a top lane. It'll be a blind top lane pick, but the expectation is it could be against Swain because of what Cuvée has revealed in solo queue. A lot of choices. Swain is a very strong laner. A ranged champion will be the safest way to approach this.
Yeah.
Let's see what the decision will be. Mundo's been the fallback, but you know this is very, very standard and predictable, Gen G would have definitely prepared against. They could just go Cannon top lane if they want it and go back to the AD Cannon. Maybe Griffin doesn't care because they have so much engage. They can try to answer a split push. The other way to answer the Mundo recently has been farming as Gangplank. Old Cuvée favorite. Last picking for Cuvée on the red side is what I was expecting Gen G to do, because when they really respect their opponent, we do see those chops out of Cuvée. It could actually be a Gangplank mid lane from Fly, an old pick for Pawn, but could still come out in this game. There's a lot of flexibility here. We're going to have to wait till 20 seconds.
The GP into the Galio will do quite well. Can just sit there, farm up, poke him out.
Pawn for KT Rolster, I believe in 2017 spring, might have been summer, was the first to show it. We're going to have to wait here. I think GP does better in the Mundo matchup. Spirit Visage answers the Swain very easily.
Yeah.
But let's see what the decision is from Gen G. There is a little bit of ambiguity there.
4 more seconds.
Whoa, Ruler dropped his gum.
No flip gonna happen. They would have swapped it, but he dropped his gum.
That's true.
Everybody in the booth got distracted, so it didn't go through. Cuvée just going back over to the Gangplank. We've already seen this from him. This split, but just going back to basics. Pretty standard for him in the top lane.
Very
Try
interesting.
to not die.
This is a draft that has so many champions, a super highly contested. Shen Nocturne together is a really big cost, but Gen G would have seen this coming. This is not a misdraft from them. They've left open stuff. They may be surprised by the Ezreal, because that is Viper going against expectation. There are people out there who say, well, Viper's only profiting off the current meta of being able to play Vladimir and mages. How will he do falling back into the hard carry, AD carry role? Well, Viper in Challenger was able to take down every comer. It's a new level of opposition. It is your world champion AD carry in Ruler. Let's see how they do, 2v2. Finally some standard in the bot lane from Griffin.
Yeah, I'll begin to see how well prepared Viper's going to be for this. Expected he's been having a lot of practice with the Ezreal, very standard pick coming through, but now he's got to go up against Ruler on that Ashe. Let's see what happened, guys. It's good to be back. Game number 1 coming your way. Griffin versus Gen G.
Good
Coming
news,
your
everyone.
way coming your way in a minute.
We'll
Of
get
course,
there.
I'm back. It's been 16 days, so that means that we get to go straight into the Papakilios podcast. It's been quite some time.
We always have to give a little bit of time before we launch into the podcast. We don't want to abort the podcast
It's
without
true.
one subject.
That's
Just
true.
letting you guys know. There's
Seems
an
like-
audio issue with Sword. Apparently his mic acting up a little bit. So,
All right, well, better than the eye issue it looked like he was having earlier.
and the game issues with the in-game lag we've had the last couple of days were not ideal. So hopefully this is just an audio issue that can be easily cleaned up. Sword is saying, well, I had to blind pick Mundo. Hope this goes well. No
I
Cannon
think it'll
this
be
time.
all right. He still goes where he pleases. Just needs to get a little bit of help from Tarzan there in the top side and try to shut down that GP. Of course, not going to be able to get the fear off because he's got the orange, but you got the slows coming in from the cleavers pretty consistently, so can slow him up.
But the kind of elephant in the room in that analysis is it's Nocturne, who really only helps himself to level 6 farm rather than actually impacting any counter ganks, and ganking the Mundo early is usually the way you want to go to put him a couple of items behind. Waiting for another update here. Sounds like the game is just around the corner.
Yeah, just getting ready to dive back in, making sure that there's no more problems.
Ooh, that's a good sign.
Get the nice little zoom in. It's 2 nice signs, actually. But here we go, guys. Of course, a Friday evening here in Korea. First time that casting LCK on a Friday. I believe.
Was a SpoTV exclusive before, but
Yep.
now is becoming a bit of a shared thing. OGN has 2 Fridays, I believe, this season. So a ward down by Lehens and a quick back. It's what we see quite frequently after the changes in cooldowns. Change over to the sweeper. Against a melee support like Tom Kench, the ability to have sweeper so you don't have to face check the second brush in lane with your face. You can just do it with the sweeper. Safer way to go. Looking over the keystones here. Is anything hugely surprising? Double Aftershock on the side of Griffin. A lot of Resolve Tree as we can take away. On the side of Gen G, you want to farm as the Gangplank. So we've got the Klepto brothers, Ezreal and GP, both representing Lethal Tempo on the Ashe. Kind of a newer choice, but something we're seeing pretty frequently these days.
Taking a look back at the stats here for Viper and Ruler. First in KDA, 6th for Ruler, but still has been having a good split overall. Not conforming to these mages in the bot lane.
Let's watch the early jungle pathing, because we've seen a lot of creative pathing and leashes just to allow the natural pathing to a scuttle or a gank and not losing your other side of the jungle because of a clear. They don't have the sweeper.
Yeah, they're sniffing this one out, though. Viper just waiting, hanging back, allowing for Lehens to push forward first.
When you have sweeper and also Ezreal who can check brushes, there's no real reason to hard camp, so they just take a health lead and try to control the wave.
You see there, Haru with the Rengar.
Legendary pick.
A very legendary pick for him. A massive win rate. 3 losses on it so far. Will Griffin be able to deliver another one over to him? We'll have to wait and find out. Right now, sitting on top of the ward here in the brush, Tarzan's just going to shove him back.
Galio Mundo coming first.
Down. Sword getting a bit of damage in. Tarzan getting closer, flashing forward, looking for that first blood. They flash over the wall. Sword manages to get the first blood. Now Cuvee, he's isolated himself, but Fly is pushing over. Trying to distract them, trying to allow for the gangplank to get out successfully. Taunt coming down from Jovi. Throws down the winds, Fly flashing to the side, but he's going to the opposite side of the jungle. Jovi goes forward. Will he go down? Manages to get the auto attack in. Griffin will come out on top 3-2 in the end.
Had a huge advantage because their members were grouped towards the back end of that skirmish. So Griffin pick up kills. Tarzan, crucially, getting kill participation in all. A nice first purchase by the gangplank. We have to see where the lanes are at to fully understand how that all went. Only 5 CS onto Cuvee. Pandemonium on the Rift, but because of all the teleports and the short death timers, the waves are actually the bigger, interesting question.
Well, just going to be a slight little lead coming in, 600. Griffin was able to get that first blood onto Sword.
Fortunate that there was no teleport on Core JJ to join the action with his unsealed spellbook. Started with the cleanse. We'll need the cleanse the game goes on, so that part you understand.
Viper and Ruler could have joined in. We could have had the ADCs in here.
We've had some crazy stuff happen over here at Killers, as I'm sure you've noticed.
Oh yeah, plenty of Fiestas so far.
Speaking of Fiesta, look at the rune choice here by Fly. That's a different one. Grasp of the Undying Swain.
Yeah.
But just, let's try and stay in the lane.
Let's not die. Ten's coming around the side, just going to be clearing out the ward. They know exactly where Haru's at. Now Haru's going to be leaping forward. He's getting jumped on and rooted down by the bola, and now has to flash out, so maybe a bit too aggressive from him. 3 members versus 2. Lehens at half HP. Viper trying to poke him down, jumps over the side. DeBauer's going to come through.
How greedy we get?
See if he can follow up for this one. The flash away from Core JJ, spits him back out. Haru seems like he will be able to make it out of here with his life. Tarzan's like, oh god, I wish I was level 6. I could jump on him with the paranoia, but will not be able to do so. Ruler just going to take some poke damage in the end.
And Tarzan's the one's going to profit from this. Haru can't be in his own jungle clearing camps. However, it's at the trade of Viper's lane control. He had to use basically all of his mana to harass in that area, so the back timing might be earlier than he might have originally wanted. He can be very flexible on Ezreal, so when it comes to punishment with a TP AD carry, it's not quite as big a variable, but the independent variable for Griffin's performance against Gen G is definitely going to be what's Viper looking like on a traditional AD carry on the Ezreal. We know his reputation from Challenger. I certainly give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's one thing to do that. The doubt is still there. He still needs to perform on the big stage.
Yeah, still just needs to prove himself. See if he'll be able to do that as we go through the evolution of this series. See how many games we get, you know? Gen G had some ups and downs. Can they stay calm, keep level-headed, and try to advance past Kingzone?
A different look from Chovy as well on the Galio. Majority of his champions are the Zoe Aurelia, and playing both sides of that matchup. Famously beat BDD on the Zoe and Aurelia side. Zoe versus Aurelia. Has played the Lulu early in the season and a couple of supports, but Galio, just a bit of a different proposition. Galio's Shen Nocturne, though, is pretty clear in terms of identity. That Galio ultimate, not going to be used to peel for Viper, it's going to be used to dive and squish the Ashe, the Goomba Stomp, as I like to call it, trying to kill her first. See how the play calling is. Traditionally, you'd think of Gen G as a pretty straightforward opponent for Griffin, because Griffin are rewarded for their team fighting. In fact, their reputation is kind of 2017 Samsung Galaxy of being the shield in the early game and then winning with team fights. We might just see those titanic team fights. You don't expect Gen G to beat them in the early game like Katie Rolster did.
Cuvee going on a bit of a walk. Tarzan hovering nearby. Ward gonna come down. Now's gonna spot him out.
Who's scared?
Last cone to try to cut him off. Galio gonna be nearby as well, but Chovy not level 6 yet. Fear coming in. Cuvee gonna cleanse that one off. Sword running down. Double taunt comes through. Fly. He's got that level 6 ready to go. Cuvee falling dangerously low. TP coming in from Core JJ out of the bot lane.
He'll complete this.
Tarzan getting slowed up, does not have the flash.
Oh.
A couple more shots would get him, but they just cannot close the distance. Chovy running back over to bodyguard him.
No
Makes it out with his life.
No health items in the purchase, but just not enough damage. About 120 health remaining there for Tarzan. They want to secure his red, just like we saw previously. We will see an invade bot side, and the Hawk Shot will chase Tarzan out of the jungle. And as the strength of the Ashe, it really empowers Haru to know basically the exact respawn timer of all the camps, and it will prompt Lehens to actually come and tank up the camp to allow him to get the red.
Tarzan falling behind a slight bit here. You can see Haru already level 5. Tarzan still not hitting it. It's just one kill away. We'll get that pop. It's still a ways to go before he's going to have the ult ready.
After a 1-0-2 lead, you might be thinking that he'd have a huge experience lead, but behind in camps, not been able to monopolize scuttles either. And the Hawk Shot just makes life so much more annoying, because he knows that if Rengar jumps in with his passive, he will lose a 1v1 to the Rengar. And the Rengar has basically full information on his pathing between the wards and also the Hawk Shot. So very frustrating to deal with that utility in the laning phase for the Nocturne.
Just a bit of harass here. Ruler trying to shove them back away from the wave. Viper at the moment falling behind a slight bit as far as the CS is concerned.
Ezreal doesn't get a lot of help out of the Shen. In the 2v2, Tahm Kench does basically answers everything that the Shen wants to do, and there is even a bit of kill pressure there onto the Shen Ezreal. So just a tier, just going to be pretty passive laning farm here for Viper and Lehens.
Needs that Sheen to come through before we can really start poking back Ruler. For now, just going to be behind around 10 CS, so not going to be the biggest deficit ever. Be able to outlast. Blue buff just going to be handed off to Chovy. Tarzan back to base. Does have that level 6 ready to go. As well as the stopwatch, so he's ready to dive.
So the item build will be here from Viper. If you consider what team fights on the Griffin side are expected to look like, it is everyone diving and Viper fending for himself. While the Ashe may be in peril, does look like Ashe is going to have a lot of people trying to shut her down. Do consider they have Swain, Rengar, and GP. That's a very high damage top side of the map. And Ezreal will not have a lot of peel provided by the rest of his team. They're going to be on dive duty, so it's going to be a treat to watch. Two of our best AD carries in Korea trying to make things work.
Awesome dudes. I don't know if we can go so far to call Viper an AD carry yet.
He'll grow into that reputation.
We'd hope so. Maybe this is the meta forever, where we get Vladimir bot lane.
I think it'd be interesting to know how Riot looks at where things are, because they definitely were trying to open up. I think Vladimir's power level is just too high in general, proven by the fact that he's been able to work in the duo lane just fine. So maybe he just needs a mini rework. I think a lot of the other stuff, like Ryze is really only an answer to Vladimir. The Yasuos are kind of gone at this point. Swain is very flexible, so maybe he sticks around. But it is interesting to wonder if this is just, you know, an abomination when it comes to looking back on metas historically in a few years' time, or whether it is a sign of the future. We just can't know. Same story with Griffin. The 7-1, we go 8-1. Is it a flash in the pan, or is it also a predictor of the future? I think summer 2018 will be a fun one to ruminate on in a couple of years.
Yeah, maybe we'll think back on this very fondly. Miss the days where we had the Morgana Pike bot lane.
I'm waiting for the Pike 80 carry from Viper. Been playing a lot of it in solo queue.
You know, would not be shocked at all.
Great interview with Ashley Kang about Viper and just talking about his view, and he seemed to say that if he's playing in solo queue, it's a legitimate pick for competitive. The last time I remember that being a discussion is when Faker was spamming Riven in solo queue during Season 3 Worlds under his barcode name, and turned out that was a pretty good champion in the mid lane. So
it was, especially against Cassiopeus.
That's true. That's one of the super plays people will remember.
One of the most disgusting clips ever.
Still, I remain to be a believer in the Pike and the carry role.
See, that's a pick that I would love to see back, is Riven.
You know, enough GPs come out with Klepto, and you never know. Khan in spring season, getting a pentakill on the Riven. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
But since then, no one dared. Cuvée did play a game in a solo queue, but he was feeding pretty hardcore, so maybe not Cuvée.
He can play carries, but getting his
Riven is
back
a
on.
lot to ask.
That's a big step there for
I
Cuvée.
usually play Maokai. How will my Riven be? Oh, Gen G have had lane control bot side for basically an entire game, so this should be an easy one. Core JJ just used the Unsealed Spellbook to make the speed a bit faster and pulled out a smite.
It's going to be the Ocean Drake going over to Genji, so I don't think Griffin is going to be too concerned about that one. Cloud going to be the next one up around 17.5 minutes. So it could be a very low Drake count game that we have here on our hands.
And I think you can extend that to a pretty low kill count game. We did have that one burst of action, but I think both teams kind of look at late game and say, okay, yeah, feeling pretty confident. It's going to be Iceborne Gauntlet, so I think Viper reads the same threat we do. But the dives, you know, if you just compare this game as a tale of two dives, consider that while Nocturne, Galio, Shen is pretty reliable in terms of dive, Cuvée is going to have barrels down. You're opting into barrel damage. The Rengar dive is going to be strong. Swain's not going to be burst down. He's going to have Azonias. Actually killing someone other than Ruler is not going to be a trivial task for Griffin on their dive. And there's just so many people who can just ignore and try to dive onto Viper that you could run out of damage on the Griffin side. So while I understand the idea of late game Griffin, very, very fearsome team fighters, so are Genji, and there isn't necessarily a load of damage on the side of Griffin. There definitely is on the side of Genji.
Oh yeah. Multi-threat coming through. The only one that's not a threat really is Core JJ, and even then we've seen plenty of top catches get those kills coming through off the Devour. Rift Herald going to be thrown into the top side just to help knock down this turret.
A lot of chip damage onto the turret.
Way more than I would have thought. And the charge will just go ahead and take it down, so that's going to be the first brick going over to Griffin. Now looking for the dive in onto the Rengar. Haru getting locked up. Doesn't stand a chance. Managed to get the kill. Now Hens dashing forward, gets the flash in to get the taunt. Fly will flash away to safety.
Decisive stuff from Griffin. They wanted to make the game, the pace go higher. They kind of recognize what we're saying and say maybe there is an Elo Heaven at the end of the game. It will be a trade in terms of turrets, as I can see the Rift Herald still alive, just a bit distracted. Attempted an all-in there, but Viper has his wits around him. Does end up being a turret trade overall.
Go ahead, just going to be down 600, 500-ish gold here as Genji. They even get the second charge onto the top tier 2 turret, so knock that one down to around half HP. So really good push for Griffin here so far.
A stopwatch from Ruler. He's accepted his fate in some of these team fights.
Remember, their win rate with getting that first turret is 100%.
And it'll be 6-0 in the top lane, because top lane is where they focused. Cuvée didn't go for the lane buster, I kind of imagined. My thought for how Genji would be able to outwit Griffin would be around counter-picking top lane. They had that option and chose to go for very much the scaling. Like we've mentioned a couple times already, that will be in service of some very strong team fights 30 minutes onwards. But it wasn't the punishing laning phase for multiple winning lanes for the side of Genji that I kind of prophesized when I was thinking about how the Game 1 draft might go.
Well, for now, we'll see how Genji just want to slow things down. Like you said, 30-plus minutes. It's about where they are trying to get to so that Ashe can be powered up as well as the Gangplank. It's already got that Trinity Force completed. With some more items on the way, having those 2 kills come through is going to be quite nice for him.
Side laning for Griffin will be fine, but Galio always prefers to be in mid lane for ease of access to the side lanes with his ultimate. Nice little lane ward that I don't believe Sword had scouted out. We'll let them know about the lane assignment very early here as Swain is having his way with the side lane minions.
Spotted on 2, one in the Krug pit as well. So that whole bottom side of the jungle is just lit up like a Christmas tree for Genji.
And if you compare the two sides, that's a vision advantage forward for Genji and no vision really for the side of Griffin. Advanced of the rivers, so that's just a small macro thing where Genji's 2 control wards are defending their red side jungle. Galio's not going to be able to do anything against Gangplank. We already talked about how in the mid lane, Gangplank was once upon a time a counterpick to the mid lane Galio. So side lanes for the Galio here, not as kind as maybe they first appeared.
Haru going to be spotted out. We'll go ahead and see the ward with that scrying plant though. That clears that out. Mahen's playing pretty far forward, trying to get this control ward, but how many members there are nearby? He's going to have to peel away.
And let's talk about the game state right now. You have Ashe in the mid lane who can hawk shot and also initiate. You have full information of where Griffin is coming through on their red side, and you have Drake spawning in a minute and a half. It is so difficult for Griffin to actually make a play bot side around the Drake because Genji have the spoilers. They know every entrance point. They know basically where every member of Griffin is bot side. The wards are starting to time out, but they have plenty information about spawn timers to predict where the Nocturne is. So bot side plays with a mid lane Ashe, such a general for initiation and pick. The sort of thing that Griffin have to respect, and unless Griffin can actually put down some control wards and actually own some quadrants of the jungle themselves, look right now, they have none in the inventories. It's very difficult for Griffin, short of pressing all their ultimates, to make a play, and you lose vision or the combo doesn't work, a flash comes out, they could easily be turned off.
I mean, that's exactly how we saw them get that pick onto Haru, was just all of the ultimates coming through. Hero's entrance with the Stand United on top gets them the one. At least forced that flash out of Fly, but there's no further follow-up. We haven't seen any further action, so things have to slow down once those ultimates aren't available.
You get to cheat with vision a little bit because you have Galio, Shen, Nocturne. Or I guess we saw him, let's all press our buttons.
Yeah.
But you can't cheat everything, and objective plays are very, very tricky. Even if you spot someone topside, maybe it's a Drake and a turret you're losing just for a single kill. So definitely want to see the vision come up, and predictably, with 15 seconds left, we do see control wards in the inventory from Griffin, but not yet placed, so they don't have much map control.
Biding their time, you know, they're stocking up. They know that these control wards are going to be valuable down the line, so they're just holding on as long as they can. Land's clearing out some vision here. There's a control ward in the back side of the jungle, over towards this Dragon Pit, where JJ able to go ahead and knock that one down, and Cloud Drake has spawned.
Tarzan also just hit level 11, so his threat went way up. Feel that we're close to the game-breaking moment, and the next play here could definitely be a big indicator of who runs away with this game in the mid-game. Both comps able to do that. Lahen's walking over control wards just to check the HP of this Drake.
And trying to dash away, but then Vision of Empire. Doesn't get hit by the Tongue Lash either, and now it's going to be Sword pushing down. TP getting ready to come through from the gangplank. Cube trying to join in.
Good
Here's
disengage.
entrance, not going to pop anybody up, and Tarzan's already down to about half HP as Cube goes golden. He's going to be surrounded for the moment, the Devourer's there, but the taunt comes in. They lock down Core JJ and take him out of the fight. Fly trying to play very far forward. To push as much damage as he possibly can. Can't finish off that Shen, and now has to start kiting backward. Taking a look at Sword in the back line. He'll go down.
Oh!
Fly flashes in, looking for the damage. Lahens goes golden, but doesn't have any escapes. The Shen's going to fall. That's going to be a 2-for-1 coming through in favor of Gen G. Still down 1 kill, but they tie up the goal, and now that they can scoop up the Cloud Drake.
Fascinating extended fights. We talked about how people are not going to die quickly. See, it took so long. When Chovy was able to zone and they killed the Tahm Kench, you might have thought, okay, Griffin have done this. But there's basically no damage coming out of Ruler or Viper on the back end of the fight. Sword ran into the backline, but he has no dive buddies after the cooldowns are down. So they disengage from here. This is really well played by Chovy. So patient, doesn't use his taunt until it times out. They kill Tahm Kench, and all right, 5v4. But then Sword gives up his entire health bar in the backline. Viper doesn't have a high damage build at this point in the game. He went Iceborne Gauntlet. So the Mundo's threat is completely trivialized. Really nice play by Fly, and not the best use of the stopwatch by Lahens. There was nobody to back him up.
Yeah, you know, maybe if Sword could have killed off Cuvée, would have been a bit more of an even exchange. Maybe Gen G can't pick up the Dragon, but now they're going to have 2 up in that regard with Infernal on the way. See that one spawning at around 25-minute mark or so. Damage done. 80 carries coming out on top.
And let's consider what Gen G gave up, because Gen G gave up Nocturne Shen. By far the most feared duo of champions we've had in LCK Summer. Kind of Camille Galio from last year levels of respect. But what do those champions have? Very strong initial engage. You have to flash away or you're basically dead. Then they have a very long cooldown to get their ultimates back up, and their threat after, for Nocturne especially, usually just dies randomly after he's made his dive. There are no real dive buddies after they go in, and now we're waiting for cooldowns if you're Griffin. Gen G already have map control, and the ults are on cooldown from Griffin, so it's very difficult for them to actually get control somewhere. This game, in terms of pace, has largely been controlled by the side of Gen G outside of the bursts of action. So the fallback patterns for Gen G are cleaner because of the draft that they've taken, and if they just keep their flashes for every time Nocturne, Shen, and friends fly in, they might actually be able to win this game.
Well, items coming online now. It's going to be the Zonia's picked up for Fly. Just needs 4 more stacks on that Rod of Ages as well. They have that one ready to go. Chovy going to be a bit further behind with his own Zonia's Iceborne Gauntlet out for Viper. Now just going to be working on that Blade of the Ruined King.
Gangplank is the one I'm watching. If he's laning against Galio, it's free farm forever, and we know how much damage he can do. And then you dive in, Ruler doesn't die, and you just basically die to 1 barrel crit. The barrel crit will be 100% chance, remember, with the Storm Razor build.
Yep.
GP will get 3rd or 4th item. So a lot of good news stories here for Gen G. We already saw that Griffin were aware that they had to increase the pace of the game. Without getting those wards down, you can see the game very slow paced, and all Viper can do is farm from 1,000+ range. How will Griffin increase the pace? Surely a Baron will have to be on the menu.
Getting set up for it, though. Going to prove difficult. You can already see the number of wards thrown down here, as well as the Scuttle Crab in the river. So Griffin, vision control in this game has not really held a candle to that of Gen G's. See, though, Haru still gets a lot of damage from the Ezreal.
Definitely a VOD review point for Griffin will be the Vision Masterclass by Gen G in the first 22 minutes. Nocturne in base, so Griffin can't walk up. Viper not on a Vladimir with backline threat on a backline champion of his own. Again, different look to Griffin. Talked about how, in terms of meta chicken, it was Griffin that blinked first and went for the Ezreal takeaway when Tahm Kench was taken first round by Gen G. Again, we've been wowed by their team fighting before, and it could still be a team fighting masterclass from Griffin, but in the bounds of you've got a lot of time to prepare for Griffin, what will you do, Gen G? I do like the approach they've taken.
Going to be keeping things nice and tight-knit here. Only a couple hundred separating the squads. Haven't really seen more than a 500, 600 gold lead. It's just kind of seesawed back and forth to either team. Gen G commanding the lead at the moment. If we go late enough, the Dragon count coming through would be a decent enough threat against Griffin. If the Elder were to be considered. Still just 1 minute and 40 seconds out on that Infernal as well.
Lack of an item here needs to be discussed. There is only one Ignite on the side of Griffin and no Executioner's Calling on Morellonomicon for quite a lot of healing on the side of Gen G. Gangplank, Rengar, and specifically the Swain all have healing reduction as an important stat to try to shut them down in team fights. We don't see that yet from the Galio, who's gone for Azonias for even more zone control. Executioner's Calling can come out of the Ezreal, but he doesn't have the easiest ability to proc it onto multiple people. Only his ultimate is an AoE spell to begin with. And in general, it does seem like Gen G will have the staying power in team fights they need to be able to take them down.
Trying to keep the towers alive here in the mid lane. Still just 1-1 in that regard. So the trade in top for the first brick answered up by the bot for Gen G. Other than that, not much damage going through onto the turrets. The top inner for Gen G did get taken down to about half HP, but there's no way for the Galio to push up that far. So just going to be hovering around that same level of health for quite some time, you'd have to expect.
And when nothing happens, Gangplank farms. The Swain has hit the 2-item point where he will not be assassinated by any means. Actually, very early. Last Whisper here from Ashe. So, wanting to actually have threat onto, most likely, the Mundo, who will be parked basically in melee range of her, such as Mundo.
See if he still goes for the Mortal Reminder. The Executioner's Calling was picked up by Cuvee pretty early on. Went for that right after the Derm's Fist.
Definitely Mundo, one of the few you consider both, of course.
Yeah.
Lord Dominic's almost entirely out of the meta, but I imagine you still go because you want multiple ways to proc Executioner's Calling.
Find out for now. Big group up here into the mid lane from Gen G.
Cuve's here, but Mundo is top lane. Their teleport wards are a couple of decent ones for Sword, and Sword's TPs were on full display against Afrika a couple of days ago. We see that big action here. No one wants to give up an Infernal, but Gen G going to be rushed with Mundo on the inner tunnel.
Yep, TP's going to be coming down. He's still going to be a ways away. Doesn't want to go straight into the pit. It's going to be the dive into the backside. Looking for the Ashe. Takes Ruler down to about half HP before Tarzan pops the stopwatch to try to stay alive. Fly playing up front. Uses the Zonias to keep himself alive. And in the fight as Haru goes into the back trying to execute on the Viper. Cannot get it. Now it's going to be Sword alone in the backside. Getting shredded down by the Ashe. Has to flash over the wall. Trying to get out of here. But the Devour comes in from Core JJ. Will not be able to take him down yet. And that's going to be Haru falling. 1-for-1 so far, but Cuvee and Core JJ limping out of the fight.
Griffin, out of mana.
Can they try to turn this one around and go back over for the Dragon? Instead, they go over the wall.
Oh!
Get the taunt off, but a lot of damage coming through. Now everybody going to have to head for the hills. All of the Griffin members so dangerously low. Slowed up by that Vision of Empire. Chovy, Lahen's Viper, and Tarzan. All of them falling nearly to death. No Dragon coming through. And the True Shot Barrage not going to be enough to finish off Cuvee. Takes a bite of the orange. It's not even close. As the TP comes back into the mid lane here for Fly.
TP's coming back in because the Infernal's still on the Rift. It started here by Ashe. Really interesting fight that happens here. Consider how much zone there is for AD carries, but how much is invested by Griffin just to go on the front line and waste the time of Ruler and friends while Viper is self-peeling. All the Zonias, the stasis effects used to buy time. Haru does eventually go down, but so much health bar is used by Griffin, and we talked about how little damage there was if Viper wasn't there to fight with them. Ashe has AoE, and Ezreal does not. There won't be as many stasis effects on the next fight. They go in again because the mana bar is low from Fly, but the health bars for everyone are blinking. We're at the stage of the game where that Vision of Empire could have got a random triple kill.
Yeah, the poke just keeps coming through. On the knife's edge, that entire fight there, but the Infernal Drake in the end was picked up by Gen G, and they even have a chance at another one on the way, the final dragon of the game before we see the Elder come out.
And the numbers are bigger. I know that's what Twitch chat loves, big numbers and small numbers, but the numbers are bigger because it's easier for them to push out damage on the side of Gen G, and even when Ruler is zoned over a wall, he can still contribute with the utility of Ashe.
Yep.
And in a late game, the gangplank is getting bigger and bigger, and that is the big concern. Can they actually kill the person that goes onto the Ezreal? We don't see a second tier. I wondered maybe second tier item if we're opting into late game. I think that Viper understands he needs to do damage now because there may actually be no late game to get to.
Yeah, just unfortunate for him that he felt the pressure to go in for the more, the more utility build here with the Iceborne Gauntlet rather than the Trinity Force. So just going full blue Ezreal basically at the moment. The Executioner's calling tagged in there to help cut down this healing coming out of Fly.
But Merc's Scimitar and Executioner's Calling is not a huge damage build.
Yeah.
We don't really have too much threat in the late game, and when you go Iceborne Gauntlet, you're kind of pricing yourself into a reality like that, but it's not the wrong build. You see Rengar, and you need armor from somewhere, so you understand why he's gone this approach. He did skip Ninja Tabi to try to hit 40% CDR faster, and also a good indicator that he wouldn't be going towards the double tier build, because overcapping on the CDR would have been a reality there. But we could definitely see the builds mix up as time goes on. Time is the big thing. These team fights will be long. Achilles, your lungs will have to be very much under the microscope because of how long the fights will go. And the reason why that's relevant is that's usually a sign that the low damage team will lose, because while the tankiness is on both sides, the damage is really one-sided.
Yeah. Well, Baron still not going to be contested yet. As we get closer and closer to the 30-minute mark, only Dragons and the Rift Herald, the only objectives really taken outside of that. 2 towers, 1 on each side. Haven't seen that much more pressure going through. Sword started to apply some in the top lane, but had the TP down for the Dragon fight. So unable to take that, unable to get some gold back here for the side of Griffin. So still just drifting behind very slightly by 300, but now with that Infernal Drake on Gen G, it does really start tipping the scales even further in their favor.
The other gold check is the stasis ability. We have Zonia's on the Galio. Only stopwatch left is on Ruler. Kind of amazing that he's been able to hold on to it for this long, but Tahm Kench does spare his blushes time and time again. It was Lord Dominic's in the end, and I really like the choice because your first thought, like I mentioned, was, oh yeah, just another Executioner's Calling. Let's go into the Mortal Reminder. If his job is purely kill the enemy frontline faster than the Ezreal can, I think he's very likely to do it. It's double Mortal Reminder. There's one on Haru, for God's sake.
Yeah. Another one coming through. Scuttle Crab taken here by Gen G as they get postured up around the Baron. Right now going to be standing on a ward in the brush, however. So Griffin going to be quite aware of this. Get a nice little tag there onto the Ashe. Tarzan trying to push forward. Scout out some of these wards. Fly pushes them away.
Mention that healing reduction, soon to be coming out from the Galio, working on Morella Nomicon yet. As the next item, Griffin right now, a bit limp, a bit lifeless. They haven't been able to move forward on a marksman comp like they have previously on their mage comps. Definitely something people have been wondering about. Is this just a one-game thing, or is this going to be a sign of their future or this series? Gen G look very squared up. They clearly have used their time to reinforce some of their shot calling, and given everything we already discussed, it probably shouldn't be a big surprise that Gen G put the big shield on, they put the Gathering Storm on their AD carry, and that's the only Gathering Storm in the game.
Yeah. They knew. They wanted to take this one late. You have the Gangplank in the game, trying to stretch this out as long as you possibly can. That added power coming through from the Gathering Storm. Ruler in a very strong spot here at the moment.
Griffin need to profit off a mistake. I think they really need to burst one person instantly and then make a Baron play, because right now, as the game stands, a true 5v5, in my eyes, I can't see it being a Griffin victory, barring significant outplays and misplays on both sides. And that's not something you can really price in at this level in the LCK, the top 5 teams. It's very unlikely that we'll see the best and the worst of each team.
You say that, but both of these teams are actually the teams that gave BBQ their only 2 game wins.
Yeah.
There was one loss on each side.
Well, you know.
So they have their moments. They're very predominantly good at the game, but every now and then there's that brain fade and BBQ gets some wins.
I see your facetious stats and I decide to ignore them.
Well, that's going to be an arrow coming down onto Lens. He just gets melted down by this Ash, but now the dive coming through from the Paranoia. Tarzan into the back, looking for the Ash, but the flash away is there from Core JJ. He will spit Ruler out to safety.
This gameplay isn't going to work. They can just back away. The cooldowns are now down from Griffin. There's no threat from Griffin anymore. Ira pops the ultimate, but just scouting and ends up using it on the Raptor cam. A lot of the threat from Griffin is down, and they keep fighting when the flashes are up. That means the Griffin have little to no threat.
Doesn't find anything here. Viper just trying to poke them down, but not having that Trinity Force is going to be limiting his damage quite a bit. And now Gen G start up this second Infernal Dragon. See if they can take it. Sword leading the charge, pushing in. The Empire comes down. Griffin split away from it. Break down to about half HP. Tarzan trying to go for the steal. He manages to take that one away, but takes a big burst from the barrel. Now that's going to be the barrage getting laid down. Haru chases in. Stand United coming through, trying to keep the Nocturne alive. He still has the Guardian Angel, and they'll take down Haru in the exchange. Core JJ trying to cut his way back and fly. Goes over the wall with a flash. QV playing up, pops Hysteric's Gauge. True Shot Barrage comes through, flashes away from the Cleaver. They will go ahead and catch out Fly as they take him down. That's going to be a 2-for-0 going over the side of Griffin plus the Infernal Drake Steel.
First team fight where we actually saw Griffin being the team to kite back, and the team that has kited back has won the team fights consistently here. The fight for once was out of range of the Ashe for the majority, so her damage was irrelevant. Griffin gallop over to the Baron, and this is the Baron they desperately need.
Yep, go ahead. Clear out the vision in the back of the pit. The Hawk Shot already burned, but Haru dead for another 15 seconds or so. Juve trying to poke out as best he can, but they're clearing the barrels before he even gets a chance to pop them. With the parlay. Control Ward dead. Baron down to 4,000 HP. It would be a miracle steal here. Try to take this one away. Pops it over the wall, but just a little bit too early. Griffin, they stopped. They knew it was coming. They get the Baron. Now they're in control.
Really exciting moment in the game after so much posturing for the last 20 minutes. Ruler continues to walk up. He's got double buffs.
Line arrow going down, connects in on the Chovy, but he's going to be quite all right. Very, very tanky here as the Galio, even though hasn't built that many defensive items.
Timing here was so important. Let's talk about the fight. Tarzan with the first play walks up and smites. I thought there was no way Griffin could win this fight because their ults were on cooldown, so they had no threat. But Haru goes too far and gets baited twice, first by the W and then by the Shen ultimate. He goes down for free. And now, as you notice, Ruler can't actually put out damage because the fight's not happening around him. Nicely played by Viper. Gets the ult. That means QV's out. Gen G have kind of artillery at this point. The Gangplank and the Ashe need the enemy to come to them. Ironically, it was their team being baited and Haru going in that lost them the fight. Haru goes down, so do the hopes there. And given that we already know that eventually Gen G is going to have an Infinity Edge, going to have just so much damn damage, it had to be then. And it's a big win for Griffin to actually find a way to push this game forward.
Ruler still coming out on top there as far as the damage figures are concerned, but like you said, wasn't really able to get into position. And even if the Stand United was down, still seemed way too risky for Haru. The Guardian Angel was there on Tarzan. Sure, you get the pop, but would you make it out of there alive?
The first thought from Haru is, let's kill the Smite, we can get the Baron. But unfortunately, the second, the third, the what-ifs were not there. And he just said, I know some ults are down, we can do this, most of their globals are down. But they didn't fall back on their initial game style of draw it late, play around Ruler, kite back, barrels, and the Ashe will do the rest. Got greedy, and that's the sort of mistake we were alluding to, and Haru is the one who's been known for having the more temper and temperament to make big plays or go home, and sadly that go home moment does stall out a lot of the good work that Gen G did.
Sword trying to bring the wave up there into the bottom side, finally knocked down the outer turret, but it's still standing, still going to be quite strong, so even though Griffin gets this, wow, yeah. Well, the poke damage is real.
Yeah.
He's got the Blade of the Rune King to try to stay alive. That's going to be the jump forward. They come in into the backside. Tarzan going in deep. They lock him down, and Chovy stomps him out with the hero's entrance. Fly falling low. Chovy just going to go ahead, Justice punches way back to the turret, and Griffin, just like that, are able to knock down the outer mid, now looking for the inner, and there's really nothing that Gen G can do but stare on.
Insanely decisive, and with 2 down, 40 seconds on Ruler, how much can Griffin get?
Yeah, screw the point that I was about to make before that fight happened. Griffin now starting to run away with the game. The inhibitor gonna fall in the mid lane. Core JJ down for another 25 seconds. Ruler 30. Do they just go for this? Tarzan is pushing up as they start looking for the towers. Wave clear is still gonna be decent as long as Cube can get the barrels to connect. Throws down the barrage.
5% TP
to start
back in.
things off. TP coming through right onto the cannon creep. Sword trying to play up front. Down the half HP pops.
10 seconds on Ruler.
W trying to stay alive. That's going to be the first one going down. I think they might have done this one. Second turret going to be falling. They jump in, get the taunt in onto Haru. He dies, as does Fly. Inhibitor going to fall in one fell swoop. Griffin comes straight in off the backside of the Baron. Extend it to 12 and 5 and take game 1.
Blink and you'll miss it. They do get over the line. There was some clutch plays by Lehens with a couple of taunts at the end that won the game where it stood. The decisive call to dive now, kill Ruler, gets Goomba stomped by the Galio and goes down was clutch. That is the late game Griffin that we know of. This time with the marksman, it looked like they might have missed their timings, but Haru made the big mistake to grant them a Baron. And the good teams, the great teams, they take a mistake and they end the game. Griffin is certainly one of those good teams. Solid victory for them.
Yeah, we'll have to see who's going to get the MVP for this one. Griffin just trailing behind Gen G for the majority of that game, suffering loss after loss with the Dragons. They get the Infernal, they take the fight, and they gain control from there.
And if you're Coach Trace, head coach of Samsung, now of course the head coach, Gen G, you must be frustrated. They did everything right to set up a scenario where they took the picks. Griffin took the bait, took the Nocturne Shen, and Gen G clearly understood. We know what we've given up. We have confidence in what we have, and I think overall there was going to be a tipping point where they would win consistently without mistakes. We saw the mistake. It was well profited on. Gen G so close, but not close enough to take down Griffin in game number 1.
Well, Griffin has been looking like the pride of the LCK, the hope for the LCK in the World Championship after the shortcomings of so many of our previously reliable teams. Closing out this series would put them one step closer to netting a grand final in summer, being a Royal Roading team in the LCK for the first time ever.